Hey guys, it's Dragon Ball for Life here. Today, I'm be reviewing episode 2 of Moon Knight. Now, I just recently, I think literally right before recording, I started watching episode 2. I saw it up late last night, but it was like, I think 3 o'clock at that time, so I had to go to sleep. So I went to sleep, and then I just watched it right now, and now I'm going to be doing the review. So, episode 2, I've been fiending for this ever since episode 1 was done because I was very, interested and intrigued. And I enjoyed the story that was developing from the first episode and what they were setting up and the direction they were going. I was just very anticipating what was going to happen next and see more of this show. And luckily for me, the second episode didn't take too long to come out, so I'm happy for that. And the second episode, I gotta say, compared to the first one had more of a crazy intrigue because it's like, oh, you don't know anything. But this episode, it was less of that, but it did have more action. It had more, information that was given to us, and they seem to be proceeding with the story in general, especially about him being Moon Knight. I think that's what's been shown more in this episode, which I did enjoy. Not every episode has to be the same. Last episode was more about piquing people's curiosity about this character. This episode is more about explaining stuff, showing us more of the world and more of who he is, and then developing more of that story so we can go through the the superhero side aspect. That's what they were doing more in this episode, and we got a ton, and I mean a ton of information. At first, it was basically just. It was just a series of events that was just ruining Steven's life. It was just different events that after, transpired with what happened in the museum. So we literally start off with him, him waking up back at home. He's trying to run, he falls. That was like in the trailer, so I also like seeing that. And then he goes to the museum and they're like putting up caution tape because it got destroyed and stuff a little. And he's talking to the security guy to check in the cameras to show him the thing, but he can't see it. So now we've been shown that these creatures that are coming out, they're invisible to regular people except for people like him and the enemy guy that have these connections to these Egyptian gods in this Egyptian world. So regular people cannot see this stuff. And in this camera, it looked like he was just running scared randomly. So it made him kind of look crazy, which when I first saw this, I'm like, oh, he really looks crazy to a lot of people from the way he normally acts. But the fact that he's running and acting this way when there's an invisible force and there's nothing there chasing after him, it kind of does make him look bad. And I can understand why a lot of people are like, kind of have that opinion of him being this crazy person, because him doing stuff like that does not help out his case. And then it was found out that it just seemed like he vandalized the place and came out. It was obviously Mark who came out. He looks literally dead into the camera, and he basically destroyed it, and he gets in trouble for it. Luckily for him, he wasn't going to get arrested. He wasn't getting charged with anything, but he did get fired, so that did suck. And then he goes into this one storage area to find some stuff. He finds a gun in there. He's talking to Mark. Mark is telling him like, this is something that you need to stay out of. Let me take control, all this stuff. And he's arguing like, no, you're a bad person. You're crazy. You're hurting people, stuff like that. So you can see the distinct difference between the two characters and, their personalities and how they act. And you can clearly see, the difference. And then he meets up with Layla, which we find out later on to be his wife. And she knows about his powers and stuff. So it's just like, that already was a bombshell. One, the lady that he's talking to is his wife. So you're telling me that this guy is married to somebody else, hasn't seen her for months, and is in a different part of the country with an accent, and you do not know this? From what we've seen from this episode, it reveals that she knows about, about his Moon Knight persona. She knows that he has powers. She knows his relationship with Khonshu, the moon god. She knows about, all the stuff. She fought with him and with this golden scarab stuff. So she knows all this stuff, but she didn't know that he has multiple personality disorder and has another side of him, which for me, I was surprised. I was like, so all this other stuff, this other very deep and, more crazy stuff about him, but you don't know that he has multiple personality disorder and his other multiple personalities. Even his other side didn't know as much about him as she did. And So like now we know who she is. So he sees his wife. She has like a Scottish accent. I'm assuming that the reason he created that British accent was because his wife is from like the UK and stuff like that. And like he's like, okay, so I'm gonna develop one of their like I guess vocal patterns or whatever you can say. But he himself, he does not know a lot of stuff, and she knew more about it than him, but she didn't know that, so that felt weird to me. And then this was getting more awkward because now he's in a situation where he's dealing with somebody that knows him and knows him very well personally, but he does not know her at all, and she doesn't know this side of him and doesn't know that he's different, so he has to try to prove it. And then he's trying to talk to her, and then Mark is telling him like, no, stay away, stop talking to her. Because the reason Mark stayed away from her was he didn't want her to get hurt because of this whole situation with the Khonshu and dealing with these like Egyptian god stuff, because it could get dangerous. So he wanted to stay away from her, but Steve is in a position where he's losing it, and he's dealing with somebody that knows him, and he just wants to be honest, but he's kind of conflicted because he knows the other side is kind of right, that he can't put her in this danger. So he was trying to show her the golden scale, but his other side said, if you do this, you'll get hurt and stuff. So he's like, oh, he hesitated, but she still found it anyway. And she already knew about it. She said she fought for it. And then these two cop people come in to check on him. We later on find out that they're not actually cops. Well, I guess they could be cops, but they're not doing their actual job. They're basically, they're working for the bad guy, Ethan Hawke's character. They're working for him. They're a part of his his crew with the tattoo on their arms. And now they also found out that he is Mark, and they tell him his story. And once when he finds out that his backstory is he killed a bunch of excavators in Egypt, and especially this one archaeologist. I heard in the comics that archaeologist and the excavators are like criminals and stuff like that. And the archaeologist dude was he was a bad guy. He was like a dude that wanted money, and he was trying to kill people and hurt people and stuff. And once when he found that out, he fought him, and then he ended up dying in that situation. But he got resurrected by Khonshu. So when that happened, to me, for other people, they might have they never heard of anything about Moon Knight. They might be assuming that, damn, is Mark really that bad, or is there another story to it? But since I did hear about that, I do know that Mark isn't bad, and him taking out the guy was a bad dude. So he was taking out somebody bad, and he's trying to explain it. He's not trying to fully explain to him, but he's trying to tell him like, look, it's not what you think it is. And at this point, Steve doesn't care. He's like, yes, you kill people. I don't want to be part of a person who's a murderer and stuff. I don't want to do this stuff. And it does show more of Steve's character. Before, it was like, is he just a shy and timid guy, and the other guy's more aggressive? That's the only difference. But we do find out that their morals are 100% different. Grant is not only is he kind of like a pacifist, he's not a violent guy, but he's against killing people. He's against murder, and he thinks what he's doing is wrong. And he has such a reaction to it, to the point where he's like, I do not want you out at all. I do not want you to be near here. I do not want to hurt people. So obviously he doesn't understand what's happening. He's the avatar of vengeance for Khonshu, but he's only taking out bad people, and he doesn't understand that. But to him, he sees this guy murdering people, especially in his body, and he's like, you can't be doing this. So you see the distinct difference between the personalities. One is like a passive good, and the other one's more of an aggressive good. Neither sides are bad, but one is more like I guess like gentle when it comes to his goodness, whereas the other guy is willing to go to extra lengths to deal with bad situations. Which, like I said, once again, it's like both sides are fine, but now we have this big conflict between him, and he does not want him out because, to be honest, it's fair enough because the stuff that he's going through is crazy, and he has a murder inside him. He just wanted a normal life, and he can't have that, and now he's having all this other crazy stuff, having to be on the run, have to deal with this stuff, and he's scared and stuff because he's a normal guy. And he comes there. The Ethan Hawke's character starts talking to him and starts like saying, oh, is he here? What is he telling you? To kill me? And everything Khonshu's saying, he knows exactly what he's gonna say. And he's like, I can't see him anymore. And he's like, I assumed that he was I thought Ahmed was out, and he was her avatar, like how he's Khonshu's avatar. And by being a different person avatar, you could see all the other gods. But apparently, we do find out later on that nope, he was actually Khonshu's former avatar until something happened and he disbanded from him and went to a different side. And what we find out in this episode basically is like, there was, like I said, a lot of stuff gets revealed. One, we find out that he has a wife. Two, we find out that his wife knows about everything except for the multiple personality stuff. Steven finds out about his past, who he is, not the whole thing, but he knows about Khonshu now. He knows who he is. He knows about all the other stuff, the deal that he kind of went through. We also found out that Stephen Hawke's character, which I still don't know the name of his. If I find out, then I'll be using his name. But Stephen Hawke's character, he used to be the former vessel for Khonshu, and not anymore. Now he doesn't have that power. He's now devotee to Ahmed, and he's on her side, and he kind of I guess like hates him because the way he talks about him is in like a belittling a way. Like he's talking about how he's kind of childish and immature, and that he's selfish, and that you shouldn't listen to everything he says. Which is kind of interesting because what we do see in this episode, even though he might be like a god of vengeance and trying to do justice, and is not like Ahmed where she just kills people for even thinking of doing something bad later on. He is still like he's still a horrible person and still like selfish and stuff because of what do we get explained later on. But getting revealed that that's the case, that he was the former one, is very interesting. And also interesting the fact that not only did he disband and betrayed him, and he also went to a different side, but also to the fact that he was probably with him for so long that he even knows his entire mannerisms. Not only does he know him, but he knows exactly what he would say, because every time he would talk to Steve, he would just repeat the same thing that he said, and then Steve's like, can you hear him? He's like, no, not anymore. But he knows him so well. So I do think that Stephen Hawke's character is misled to the point where he probably was, the vessel of Khonshu thought his justice was right, but then it messed up his perception of justice so much that he's like, yeah, you're not taking it serious enough. And then he saw her, and she was even more like strict on it, and he's like, yes, this is somebody I'm gonna follow. So he also saw him as like, baby. And once again, I can't blame him. Towards the end of the episode, I could see why he would not like him. Khonshu is not somebody you can easily get along with, because this person doesn't care. He's willing to use people. He might show off that he's like a benevolent deity, but he is a very selfish one, and it's only about his goals. And everybody else is just his avatar or his meat puppet to use. So I get that, but I still think even Hawk's characters, I think his perception on justice has been miscued, which is an interesting type of villain arc that they have, or a villain type of character they have. I like that. And he wants to scare up. He doesn't have it. His wife has it, but he doesn't want to snitch on her. Then she comes. Also, he was trying to get divorced with her because he didn't want her to get hurt. So she comes, and now she's in danger. Ethan Hawke lifts up his staff, stabs him to the ground, and then a purple glow comes from the ground, and it opens up, I think, a hole to the dead world, because it raises up the jackal once again, and he starts attacking. And that is interesting that that power, he says it has a fraction of her power. So the whole point of the scarab is it's a compass to lead him to her body in a specific tomb, to resurrect her, and then have her basically be, I guess, her vessel, and then have her plan come out through fruition, where it's killing off all the bad people. And it's not just bad people that are going to do something bad in the future. Steven even calls it out, which I did like, where he's like, so you're just going to judge innocent people and kill them just for something they might think they do later on in the future? And he's like, what about an innocent child? He's like, yeah. And then he starts giving an analogy about poisons and, a disease in your body. He's like, a child's not a disease. So you can see, like I said, Steven has a strong sense of morals and justice, but he's in a more of a passive manner compared to his other side, Mark Spector, who is more of an aggressive manner. And you can see he's a genuinely good dude. That's what I love, the complete contrast between the other versions of himself. And you can see the moral conflict within himself. One side is like, we need to fight and kill people. And the other one's like, I don't want to do this stuff. I just want to live a normal life. I don't want to do anything bad. And he's trying to survive. His wife's fighting now, and they get attacked. He's saying, no. He's like, I'm never letting you out. I'm never ever going to let you out. So he's 100% fighting him. Also, Ethan Hawke's character knows that he has multiple personality disorder. He suggested that the reason Khonshu picked him up is because he had that. It does make sense, because his ability to, judge and kill people cannot work if there's multiple bodies in there. Because Mark might, fit the bill to kill, but Steven doesn't. Steven is literally just an innocent dude. He doesn't seem to do anything bad. But yeah, as this has happened, he gets tossed out the building, and he's like, okay, suit. He falls down, and he has like a weird mask, like just like stuck to his head, and then he has like a pure white suit on, and he's like, what the hell are you wearing? He's like, when I said suit, I didn't mean this, I meant the warrior garb that is given to us by Moon Knight. And this part, it was interesting because if you know the comics, this other outfit of his, this is actually in the comics. This is different in the show, but in the comics, from what I heard, there was different avatars throughout the history, throughout the years, and one of them was a gangster from Chicago who basically had this as his suit, and this is what he would look like when he would turn into the Moon Knight persona. So in this one, it's not a former avatar. We did see the other former avatar, but it is just another suit of his. And I think this is going to be Steven's suit, whereas Mark's suit is the original Moon Knight garb and stuff. His one is the gangster one. And it was funny because he looks at it, he's like, oh, this is a nice suit though. I was laughing. I was like, okay, so I'm guessing Steven is going to be the more comedic relief, lighthearted person, more of the everyday kind of guy, and more through the our perspective, whereas Moon Knight and Mark is basically the more superhero character, the more aggressive character, the more in-depth character when it comes to dealing with these situations. This is something that he understands, whereas Steven is just like a regular dude. He doesn't understand it. But yes, he gets a costume, so now it shows us that he can transform, gain the costume and the powers of Moon Knight, but he will have a different attire than him, and he just won't know how to use it as well. And he stays in this. We do see he has some strength. He grabs onto the back of a car, crushes it, and pulls it off. So not people were wondering, because sometimes in comics he has no powers. He's just like a regular physically guy, and other times he has super strength and stuff. I think in this Marvel show he is going to have super strength. He showed super strength and durability, so I think he is going to have powers on top of his additional skills like Batman. But yeah, he's going to have powers. He has super strength, but he's getting his ass beat by the guy. The Thing is beating him up, he's beating up his wife, and she's trying to help save him too, and he's getting just tossed around. He doesn't know how to use this. Mark's like, give it to me, you don't know what you're doing. He's like, no, I can handle it. And this is where it gets even funnier. So I think the show is going to have some seriousness from Mark's side, and then it's going to have the funniness from Steven's side. So Steven throws off his garb. Also, he had batons. He's like, I got billies. He's like, I got knights. What am I doing with these? So that's his choice of weapon. Moon Knight's is his crest. So he takes off his jacket, throws it. He starts rolling up his sleeves and says, "What ends are you from?" Which that made me laugh. I was like, "Oh, so Steve's Roadman now." He's like, "What ends are you from?" And he's like getting in like one of those funny like boxing poses and stuff. He's just moving around, and he gets one solid hit in. He does get a clean shot in, but he celebrates too early, and the thing starts knocking him around. And a bunch of people are now seeing him getting attacked and in this costume, and he gets knocked back. And at one point, he does not have his mask on anymore. I don't know how it disappeared. I don't know if this was in his head and shown visually to us as an audience, or as other people saw it. Because if other people saw it, then they would see that Steve, he's dressed up as a costume freak or whatever, and he tells him, "Let me take over." He does, and then it changes from that other suit to his. So yes, I think Mark's suit is going to be the original Moon Knight suit, whereas Steven's is going to be the more gangster type of suit that he was wearing. But it goes over it. He runs away, and he starts attacking him with the moon crest and stuff. So he can throw the moon crest and stuff. He can take it off his chest. I don't know if he had 3 of them because he took 2 of them off and still had 1 left. Or is it like a thing where it's like an infinite amount you can take off? Like you can take as many out and throw it at him, and he just keeps on coming back through like magic. But he was like fighting him. He's fighting the thing, and he does take it out by stabbing it through this this building structure that has like a pointy top through it. He stabs it through it, disintegrating it. And this is good because we got to see more Moon Knight. Obviously, it's not as much as some other people might have wanted, but we did see more of him, and we did see more action, and we did have some more comedy, and like it blended well. It was in a good aspect. So yeah, he goes in that, and he goes back, and he finds out that he lost the scarab, and he's pissed now. And we skip over, and we see Ethan Hawke's character picking up. He has a homeless guy. He touches his hand. He kills the homeless guy. Takes it, and she's just like staring, and he sees her, but he doesn't do anything. He just walks away, and she drives off. Now she's like worried. And he's like, oh, and it does get revealed to us that the reason why Mark right now, what his plan is to get the job done and get rid of this thing so he can be done with the deal, but he also wanted to get away from his wife because not only of the dangerous situation, but Khonshu, he reveals to us that Khonshu has his sights set on his wife and he wants her to be his next avatar, and he does not want her to be in a situation like this. Obviously he doesn't want her to be in danger, so he wants to keep her away from it. So he's trying to keep her away from from Khonshu, so he can't make her his avatar. So he's trying to keep her away. He even reveals this to Mark, and then Steve, and then Steve is now trapped in the glass, and he also has conscious of what's happening. And Mark is telling him, he's like, so this is how you feel. Apparently he's like in a stuffy area, he can't breathe, so it's pretty much hard to be in his head, but he said if you stay in there long enough, you'll get more used to it, but for right now it's hard for him, and he wants out. He's like, he's like give me my body back, you're killing people, putting blood on my hands. He's like, you don't have the right, and he's saying it's his body, and Mark says, once this job is done, I'll give it to you. I'm just like, but isn't Mark persona the real one, and the Steve one one of the multiple personalities that got split off afterwards? So it's weird to me, but yeah, they're arguing, and Mark just destroys the mirror, and he's pissed off. He's like, yeah, I don't want to deal with him, because Mark, his one is like, I gotta get the job done, I gotta do this for Khonshu, I want to get rid of it, I want to stop this. But Steve's like, I don't want you allowed to be taking over my body, because if you're going to be doing this, you're going to be hurting people, and I don't want to have blood on my hands, and I don't want to deal with this. And we've seen what has happened by him, taking over his body, the severity of that situation. But yeah, he's like, I don't want you in my body anymore, I want you out. And now him and Mark are at odds. Mark destroyed the mirror, and he's pissed off now, and he's like, nah, I'm not letting you come here. And then he's talking to Khonshu. Khonshu's pissed off. He's like, I'm just supporting you. He tells him, I'll do this and I'm done. And he's like, okay, I'll go for your wife then. So now I think Mark is in a position. He's pretty much forcing his hand to be like, okay, I'll be your avatar and your vessel, I guess, for as long as you need me, because I do not want you to take over my wife. I don't want her to be in danger. So he has to kind of bite the bullet and accept it. And Steven doesn't want to accept it. I think towards more the end of the season, he'll probably see his point, and there might be more of agreement, but also there's other sides of him. It just seems like right now Steve is his strongest strongest part, and Mark is his other side that's strong, but somehow Steven's able to block him. And then Khonshu's talking about, where the hell else do you think we're going? And then we just see transition, and you see him waking up in Egypt. He's just in his boxers, he's in Egypt drinking alcohol. He's like, damn, man. He looks out the window, you see the pyramids of Giza, and he's like, damn it, now I have to do this. So he has to go and do that. And now we're seeing it through Mark. So the first 2 episodes was through Steve's perspective. Just a little bit towards the end was Mark. And now this episode, the 3rd episode, is just going to be Mark's perspective and him trying to get in. Probably Steven trying to be like, you can't do this and stuff, and trying to argue back and forth. But yeah, that was pretty much it for the episode. I think this one was interesting because of all the information we got. With we got more about the villain and kind of what his goal is. We found out his backstory a little. We found out Steve is starting to understand more about what Mark is. We find out more about Mark's backstory, especially the fact that he has a wife. We're finding out a lot of stuff, so it's intriguing me even more to see it. Like I said, the first episode after that, I was really, really excited to see what's going to happen in the 2nd episode. And now after seeing the 2nd episode, I just can't wait to see the 3rd episode. I feel like this is going to be a running thing with me. Every other episode I'm going to be like, I want to see the next, until I see the rest of the whole season. But it's interesting, it's going a cool direction. Since they're in Egypt, there's going to be some really cool cinematography, so a lot of stuff is going to be looking good. There's going to be a lot more fighting and a lot more action like people want. And I think there's going to be way more Moon Knight too. So this is going to be interesting. I'm going to really enjoy it. The first episode, I still do like the first episode a bit more, but I really love this episode too. I think the first episode was an amazing introduction. This episode was a great build up and showing more and explain stuff, because usually when stories they explain stuff, I think the problem they have is people are talking about it's an information dump. They're just dumping, exposition and all this stuff. But this one, it seemed like they explained it very well to intrigue you, and it's like it wasn't to just bog you down with information, but to intrigue you. Like, oh, look at what's happening. There's a story already previously established. We're just understanding more of what transpired. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I like the direction they're going. I like the stuff. I think the highlight of this episode was definitely Steven getting his own suit, and then the comedy aspect of him saying, "What ends are you for? You're in the wrong ends," and then like rolling up his sleeves and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. At the beginning, I was like, "Man, this guy has it. This guy has it terrible. His life is trash right now. He's getting screwed over at every turn at this point, and it's just like it just sucks for him." So it's like at that point, I was like, he's getting kind of screwed over. So I was like. But yeah, I think it was an enjoyable episode. I like it. I think I'm gonna really like this show. I hope this season does really great because I really want to watch it next season. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll be doing this whenever the episodes come out. I'll try to watch as fast as possible, and then I'll do a review for it. So yeah, have a good day. Bye.